Week 1 of the 2025 UFL season is in the books, and while everyone's talking about big catches and bone-crushing sacks, let's not forget the unit that can swing a game in an instant: special teams. In this video, I'm breaking down the biggest special teams performances of the week, taking a deep dive into the league's new kickoff rules, and because it wouldn't be spring football without drama, I'm asking the question, does the UFL have it out for punters? Before we dive in, if you're into special teams breakdowns like this, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel and it makes sure that you won't miss any future analysis. A quick reminder, it's just week 1. This is a small sample size, folks, so don't go crowning kings or cutting heads just yet. We'll see who's really legit as the season rolls on. First up, the kickers. Over half of the league's kickers scored their first pro points in week 1, and we saw some serious highs and lows. Birmingham's Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker from Mizzou, stepped up and crushed a 53-yarder right down the middle for his first pro kick, with plenty of leg to spare. Arlington's Lucas Havrisik got in on the action with a chip shot 26-yarder, which is nothing flashy, but points are points. Michigan's BT Potter had one of the busiest days, going 2 for 4. He hit from 32 and 43, but later missed from 50 and 58. Look, I'm not sweating the 58-yarder. That's a tough ask for a rookie in his first game, but that 50-yard field goal, final minute, game on the line, and he gives Memphis prime field position, that's the one you gotta have. He beat out 2 guys in camp, Austin Jones and Chris Blewett, but word on the street is that long-range inconsistency was a concern. Week 1 didn't exactly quiet that noise. I'd keep an eye on him going forward. Finally, San Antonio's Donald Dillahay, better known as Destroying, finally got his first pro field goal after missing most of 2024 with an injury, a 39-yarder that sneaked in the left upright. He took a swing from 56 later, but it hooked wide left. Not a bad debut though, 56 isn't a gimme. Now, for the real standouts. St. Louis's Rodrigo Hot Rod Blankenship kicked off the season Friday night, but they made us wait for it. First, the 2-minute warning stalls things. Then, St. Louis tries a field goal tush-push to bait an offside. That doesn't work, so they call a timeout. Finally, Hot Rod steps up and drills a 48-yarder like it's nothing. He added a 33-yarder before the half for a perfect night, looking sharp in a blowout win. Memphis's Matt Coughlin was perfect too. First, he lined up for a 45-yarder and absolutely drilled it, but a flag moves him back to the 50. That's no problem, he smoked that one too. Later, he nailed another 45 that actually counted this time. He ended the week with the longest average make, 47.5 yards. Pretty clutch if you ask me. My top dog was DC Defender's Matt McCrane. He was 4 for 4, and he dropped 12 of DC's 18 points to upset the defending champs. He hit from 37, from 39, and then 21. Then, with under 2 minutes left, he steps up from 53. Birmingham got a hand on it, it's tipped. Still, it sailed right through the uprights, ice in his veins. Next up, the punters. First, who let me down? Michigan's Seth Vernon had me hyped after beating out Simon Larrier in camp. They were both great punters, and competition should have sharpened him up. Not really. All 3 of his punts, touchbacks. His net average was a brutal 24.7 yards. Don't get me wrong, he's got a cannon, 2 went over 50, but directionally, he lost me. I expected way more control, not just bombs into the end zone. Now, who impressed me? Memphis's Matt Mengel punted 4 times for 178 yards, which is 44.5 yards average. 1 went out at the 30, and 2 were pinned inside the 20. His best was a monster that hung up in the air so long the returner fair caught it inside the 10. And that's with gunners not moving pre-kick. That's filthy. He's sitting at 44.3 net yards per punt, the second best after week 1. Arlington's Marquette King only punted twice but averaged 51.5 yards, with both pinned inside the 20. His highlight of the night, after a penalty backed him up, he boomed a 67-yarder that died at the 5-yard line before getting picked up. His net average was 42.5. You can't ask for much more than that. San Antonio's Brad Wing, 34 years young, averaged an insane 54.3 yards across 3 punts, with 2 of them traveling over 60 yards. His best was a 69-yard beauty that rolled out at the 13-yard line. But here's where things kinda get messy. See, the UFL is screwing punters. The league's out-of-bounds rule is brutal. Wing's 69-yarder, it was dragged all the way back out to the 25 because it rolled out untouched. The same deal for Birmingham's Colby Wadman. He dropped a perfect punt at the 1-yard line, and they gifted the offense an extra 24 yards. VP of Officiating Dean Blandino says that's the rule. We want returns, not sideline punts. And then the broadcast crew doubled down, saying that the UFL knows what it wants. To hell with McAfee, it's not kicking. I'm not joking either. Here's the clip.
Right? Yeah.
So let's ask Dean Blandino. Dean, why is the ball when it went out at the 1 spotted at the 25?
Yeah, good point. That's the rule. We wanted to incentivize the return, so we didn't want the punters to use the sideline like that. So if you kick it near the sideline, you run that risk. Inside your opponent's 25, it's going to come out to the 25 just like a touchback, because we want the returners to get a chance to actually return the football.
Dean, why are we hating on punters like that?
We are hating on punters.
That's part of their skill set, right?
I know McAfee's probably upset, but this is our rule.
Okay.
Look, there's been a resurgence for the brand. Punters are cool now. No, let's go. I like the days where punters weren't as cool as that.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Dean.
Hey, listen, guys, the UFL knows what gets the people going.
There you go.
To hell with McAfee. It's not kicking.
This rule kills net averages, the stat that punters live by, and it erases coffin corner punts that casual fans actually like to see. Further, Blandino's logic is just backwards. If a punt rolls out anywhere inside the 25, it's a free 25 yards. Where's the incentive to return? There isn't any. Just let it bounce and cash in the free yards. It's ironic. The only UFL guys making it in the NFL are kickers and punters. Jake Bates, Brandon Aubrey, Dan Whelan. And now they're kneecapping punters' stat lines. Scouts see 24 net yards and they're not going to dig into the film. I'm calling it. This rule needs to be changed by week 2. My fix? Well, if a punt sails out of bounds between the 10-yard lines with no return chance, fine, bring it out to the 25. But if it rolls out, spot it where it lands. If it's inside the 10, reward the punter. Right now, this rule is a joke. Alright, now that I've got that out of my system, let's talk about the 2025 UFL kickoff. The offseason debate. Should they follow the NFL's lead and adopt the dynamic kickoff or leave things the same? I had concerns. The NFL's return rate last year, even with all their changes, was just 32.8%. That's an improvement from 21.8% that we saw the year before, sure, but still, it's nothing compared to what we were seeing in these other leagues. Over the last few years, the CFL, XFL, and USFL all had return rates in the high 90s. Even in the UFL last year, they sat at 93%. Kickoff returns weren't just happening in these leagues, they were a core part of the game. So when the UFL started talking about adjusting their kickoff, I had some thoughts, and I made them known. The biggest thing for me was that if you were going to make a change, you need to keep return rates high. That's the entire point. Here's how it works.
The kickoff. The kicker is moving back to the 30-yard line, and the remaining 10 players from the kicking team will be lined up on the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 players from the receiving team are lined up in the setup zone from their 35-yard line to the 30-yard line. The ball must reach the receiving team's 20-yard line to start the play. And once it's touched or hits the ground, all players are free to block, run, and tackle. If the ball is kicked through the end zone, the ball comes out to the receiving team's 35-yard line. If the ball hits the ground and then goes into the end zone for a touchback, it comes out to the receiving team's 20-yard line. More returns, more excitement, and more fun.
Welcome back. That last part is huge. This system punishes kickers who just bomb it deep with no control, while rewarding guys who can actually place the ball strategically. So how did it play out in week 1? Let's break it down. There were 33 kickoffs attempted, with the average kickoff distance going about 63 yards. The average opponent's starting field position was the 30.6 yard line, and there was only one major touchback all weekend. And most importantly, 97% of kickoffs were returned. Yeah, 97. That is a massive win for the league. This was my biggest concern going into the season, and after 1 week, it looks like they got it right. Almost every kickoff was returned, just like in previous seasons, and teams weren't getting automatic touchbacks as a bailout. So who stood out? San Antonio's Donald DeLahaye has a cannon of a leg and was one of my top kickoff specialists last year. So how did he handle the placement first setup? He crushed it. He had 2 kickoffs for a 68.5 yard average, which means that both were landing at about the 1.5 yard line. And both stayed inside the 30, pinning opponents to a 26 yard line average start, second best in week 1. St. Louis Battlehawks' Rodrigo Blankenship had a rough start and blasted a 70-yarder into the end zone for the only major touchback of the weekend. The ball came out to the 35. but he bounced back and ended up keeping 4 of his 6 inside the 30-yard line, averaging about 63 yards per kick and holding opponents to a 30-yard line average start, which is 3rd best in the league, which is a pretty solid recovery. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Michigan Panthers kicker BT Potter pulled off something that I've never seen done in an NFL, CFL, or Spring League game. He started placing the ball on its side before the kickoff. Not tilted, not angled, literally sideways on the tee. So what did this do? It turned the ball into a nightmare for returners. Instead of a traditional end-over-end spin, the ball took on this weird helicopter effect, making it unpredictable and difficult to field cleanly. His best one sliced between both returners, skipped wildly to the 6-yard line, and by the time Memphis pounced on it, the coverage was there. The result? The lowest opponent's starting field position of the weekend, the 24-yard line. This kind of innovation is exactly why I love spring football. Guys are always finding new ways to play the game, and if Potter keeps this up, I wouldn't be surprised to see if other kickers start experimenting with this strategy too. Alright, let's wrap up this week 1 special teams breakdown with everything else. Long snappers, returners, coverage guys. There aren't a ton of highlights, but these plays do matter. First, the long snappers. A quick refresher on how I grade these guys. Snaps are like baseball pitches. You gotta hit the strike zone. No balls that go off target. I go through UFL highlight packages grading every field goal snap and, if we're lucky, maybe a punt snap. I know it's a small sample size, especially in week 1, but by season's end it adds up. Accuracy, tackles, blocked field goals, all of that. So who stood out? Michigan Panthers' Jordan Ober had 3 field goal snaps on tape, all strikes, clean as hell. Blocking held up too, even with pressure coming in from both sides. St. Louis Battlehawks' Alex Matheson also had 2 field goal snaps, both strikes, laces were perfect, no adjustments needed. He also had a strong block on that second kick, and I bet he's itching for his offense to stall just a little so that he can snap a punt. Maybe next week. Birmingham Stallions' Ryan Langan only had 1 snap highlighted, but it was a strike, and he was the only long snapper to record a tackle in week 1. Langan, number 27, stays locked in on the returner, fills the return lane perfectly, and then closes in for a clean tackle to keep the return in check. Bonus sportsmanship points for helping the guy back up after putting him down on his back. Kickoff returners next. Birmingham Stallions' Dion Kane was busy. 5 returns, 157 yards, averaging about 31.4 yards per return. 3 of them went over 30, with his longest of 41 yards. His blockers were right on it this week. DC Defenders' Chris Rowland took a gamble, fielding one 2 yards deep into his end zone. I was screaming to let it go. Major touchbacks put you out at the 35, right? Nope, he took it all the way out to the 36, a net gain of just 1 yard, but the effort was there, and I respect that. Now the punt returners. St. Louis Battlehawks' Ja'Cour Pearson had 3 returns for a 17-yard average, including the only 20-plus yard return of the week, 26 yards. Arlington Renegades' Jaden Price only had 1 chance, but he made it count, a 17-yarder, a solid first impression. And finally, the coverage standouts. Houston Roughnecks' Jameer Jones was everywhere, tying for the league lead with 3 special teams tackles. And St. Louis Battlehawks' Nick Whiteside matched him, 3 tackles, flying all around the game. Memphis Showboat's DeMarcus Mitchell forced a fumble on a kickoff return. Memphis couldn't recover it, but that's a big playmaker move right there. And that's week 1 in the books. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you see? Who did I miss? If you're into this type of content, hit like and subscribe for more special teams breakdowns. Do you want to help the channel grow? Leave a comment and watch another one of my videos. It really helps. Thank you for watching and have a good day.